My name is Roma, and this is Zimlove, a podcast about a feeling that I try to describe through the stories and anecdotes and perspective of others, wonderful people that I've met. And through their stories, I want to change the thoughts and the feelings that people have when they think about this beautiful place. Because once you put it into Google, all that pops up is expensive safaris or hyperinflation or even different stories. But there's a specific feeling to this place. And I want to show you through the eyes of others that after all everyone has been through and is going through, there is still a feeling that is true Zim love.
I think that's something I knew from a very young age. But then growing up in a religious background, obviously, well, I don't want to say obviously because I know some religions accept homosexuality. But Jehovah's Witnesses certainly wasn't one of them. So, you're growing up being taught these truths, these beliefs or these teachings, and you know that that's one of the wrong ones. And it's just something you bury deep down inside of yourself.
This episode is with my friend Chris. I met Chris in Zimbabwe. She spent a lot of her youth in South Africa and as a Jehovah's Witness until she had a big life change, and she's going to tell us everything about it today. Thank you, Chris.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Roma.
So, Chris, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Chris, born in Zimbabwe, grew up in Cape Town most of my life until my mid-20s, and then I relocated to London.
So how was it growing up as a Jehovah's Witness?
Well, you grow up in a very disciplined household, I guess. There is a lot of rules and regulations that you live according to, based on the Bible. And a lot of that is limiting your association with people outside of the organization. So you're really isolated in a way to only socialize with people within the faith. And that gives you a very limited viewpoint on life, really. So that was one of the things that I think really was difficult and tricky growing up as a Jehovah's Witness.
How many Jehovah's Witnesses are there in South Africa and in Zim?
I'm not sure in South Africa and Zim because I never really paid attention to those figures. But, the last time I attended a meeting or heard of what the figures around the world were, I think there was something around 14 to 16 million Jehovah's Witnesses in the world. So, yeah, I'm not sure how it's broken up into different countries.
Is there anything special for when you are a woman and a man?
Well, yeah, there's different, I don't want to say rules, but there are different regulations, I guess. Men are the head of the house and the most respected, and therefore you've got to respect the man of the house and the man of the congregation. When it comes to practicing the faith, if there is a man or a male present in any sort of meeting or arrangement where there are women, the man takes the lead. And that's even down to the case of it being like a 16-year-old male will then take the lead in hosting that event or that meeting. So I think there's just some things in the religion that really put men above women, but that's seen in a lot of different religions around the world.
Mm. Have you met Jehovah's Witnesses here in Zim?
I have, and I'm so fortunate that I didn't actually grow up here. I was born here, and we relocated to Cape Town when I was relatively young. But my parents knew a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses here. So now living back in this country, people know me, but I don't know them. And it's like really freeing. And yeah, it's given me the anonymity that I kind of want living in a country as a leaver of the religion.
And how was it for you personally? You say you left the religion. So when did this start building up inside you?
So when I was 23, I got married, which is quite young. and very commonplace in the religion. My sister got married when she was 18, and my friends all got married before they were 20. And it's a lot of pressure to put on two young people who have never lived away from home, never had relationships outside of dating. And along with just the normal pressures of life, now we're trying to navigate life together as a married couple. It was just a lot, and it caused a bit of friction in our relationship. And we started to drift apart. And the more I reached out to brothers in the congregation for assistance in the breaking of my marriage, the more I was told to respect my husband as the head of the household and to continue to pray. And that just wasn't good enough for me. I was undergoing not nice circumstances in the house. And I just made the decision that if I can't get support from this organization, what's the point? So at that point, I just stopped attending, and I asked for a separation with my husband, and began a divorce. And it was at that point I reached out to people on the internet. I was kind of struggling with this internal confusion around my sexuality. And now I had just come out of a marriage and I've left this religion. I have the freedom to explore this sexual side of myself that I've never really opened myself to. And so, at that point, I started talking to people around the world via MySpace, which was crazy. And I made some friends with people in America. And I started talking to someone, and it went from there. We built a friendship and kind of just helped me come out to myself as a gay person. So that's really what pushed me into this whole new lifestyle, was the breakup of my marriage and the lack of support thereof, and then freeing me to explore this side of myself that I had to conceal for so many years.
You were talking about your sexual orientation.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that came up the first time in your marriage, or did you feel it all along?
I think that's something I knew from a very young age. But then growing up in a religious background, obviously, well, I don't want to say obviously because I know some religions accept homosexuality, but Jehovah's Witnesses certainly wasn't one of them. So, you're growing up being taught these truths, these beliefs or these teachings, and you know that that's one of the wrong ones, and it's just something you bury deep down inside of yourself. But, as a teenager and stuff, it was certainly something I was writing about in secret and exploring in my mind, but it was nothing I ever shared with anyone, no. Not until I reached out to the internet, which is wild.
And then the divorce happened, so were you expelled in a way?
Yeah, so because I didn't get the correct grounds for a divorce, I get excommunicated, So I ended up leaving Cape Town within a very short period of time after the divorce was going through. And I headed off to London to start a whole new life as a fresh character.
And how was that? What happened after you left Cape Town, left Southern Africa?
So by the time I got to London, I had been talking to this person in the States for a while, and we started to, I guess, develop feelings like you do sometimes when you're talking to people via email or on a phone for a long period of time. You end up actually pouring out a lot more of your emotions. So I had this person that I was interested in, and wow, this was going to be my first queer experience. And so I landed in London very focused to just get a job and start earning money so I could go and visit this person. And I arrived in London, 25, fresh from Africa, so naive, didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I managed to get a job within 3 days, working as a PA for this really crazy, amazing socialite. And it just so happened that she traveled a lot to the States. So it wasn't long before I went to San Francisco and got to meet this person I met on MySpace. And that was, my first gay relationship was this random person I met on MySpace who supported me through my divorce.
Amazing.
Mm.
Has anybody ever reached out for you from Jehovah's Witnesses? Any person looking for answers concerning their path?
No, I mean, I had an ex-boyfriend email me back in 2013 to say he had left the religion, and I guess he had a lot of baggage around the religion and his upbringing, and he dumped a lot of that, which I picked up as, he's obviously going through something and he's taking a lot of it out on the religion, whereas that's just exposure in our youths. It's an experience that's given us an opportunity to either grow from it or be destroyed by it. And he just wanted to reach out and badmouth the religion. And I never really got back to him because I don't have time for that.
And that's not where you are anymore.
No.
You're at a completely different place.
Completely.
If you could maybe talk to a young person that are struggling with their faith and struggling with their identity, what would you tell them where to reach out to or how to look at themselves?
I guess for me, any faith or a following or anything like that that is making you feel uncomfortable in your skin, where you can't be who you are, is something that you should be steering away from. You got to be looked to be accepted. And if you see anyone that relates to you in any way, just reach out to them. Say, talk to me. Just literally.
Get some information,
reach out, talk to whoever, yeah.
How did this break into the relationship with your family?
So I think the divorce part caused a bit of friction on my dad's side because my dad's still in the religion. And the fact that pushed me out the religion was quite a sore point for him, and it caused quite a bit of friction in our relationship, where we didn't actually talk for a few years, or we talked very, very far and few between. And the whole gay side of things, I didn't come out to my dad until 2016 because of the fear of losing contact with my younger brother. All my friends and everyone else, I was okay with losing along the way, but it was, my brother I didn't want to lose. And I came out to my mom before I actually moved to London, and she seemed to be okay with it, but I guess it took her quite a few years to actually accept it, which, I guess I understand in a way. It's something that our parents' generation didn't necessarily grow up with, and so there's not a great awareness around it, and so it takes them time to come around. So I have a normal relationship with my mom, and after having come out to my dad in 2016, it's taken some years for us to work through it, but we're on talking terms, although it's not something we sit around talking about.
You just keep it quiet, that topic.
Yeah. And he actually said to me once, don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. So I've respected that with him. But at the same time, I'm not hiding any of my partners from him or my lifestyle. When I travel to see my family in Cape Town, and I happen to have a partner at the time, they come with and they're introduced as my partner. So, yeah.
And leaving that tight community and stepping into the London community, young working person, queer community, have you found the same kind of family closeness feeling that you were looking for?
Absolutely, yeah. I think being in London and out of the religion alone, without the fact that I was queer, gave me so much exposure to what life could be about. You know, one of the things with growing up as a Jehovah's Witness is you're not encouraged nor discouraged, but you're not really ever pushed into a direction of gaining further education. And I think that's a big thing. It's a big sore point, actually, because, you know, I arrive in London, I'm 25. Most of the people who are my age are in uni. They're all at university. And I can't relate to that side of things. So it was a bit tricky with that element of insecurity, I guess, that I wasn't in a university and I wasn't studying. I was just this kid from Africa who's run away from a religion and a divorce, and now I'm here. But I had so much excitement for just being in a big city that was safe, that I could run around and no one knew me. I was on a clean slate. So I had all of that to enjoy before finding the community of people to look after me and love me for who I was. I would say that came after a year of being there. And it came fast and strong. And yeah, I met quite a few queer people, and through them met more people and more people and more people. And yeah, that is my second family, really. Those friends of mine in London.
Maybe a bit off topic, but how was it for you to come to Europe as a young white African? Like, did you go through any kind of culture shock? Or, I mean, you say that people were going to uni, you were not because of where you were coming from, but were there also other things where you're like, wow, this is so different?
Well, I mean, really basic things like just shops being open beyond, 5 o'clock and on the weekends. And there's just so much excess of options for you. I thought it was strange to see the amount of homeless people that I saw on the streets. I found that quite shocking. The way I saw things through my eyes was I just saw so much freedom, and flexibility to go and reach out for opportunities.
When did you decide to come back to Zim, and why? What happened? And when did you come back?
So I came back in 2020, March of 2020. I guess the beginning of the chaotic COVID time. And London was in a place of panic and it was shutting down. And my sister phoned up and said, why don't you come here for 2 weeks before we go away? We were due to go on a trip to Mauritius. And I said to my girlfriend at the time, let's go. We jumped on a plane. It was the actual last flight out of London in March 2020. We came out here with our suitcase full of holiday outfits for Mauritius, and the world closed down, shut down. So we were locked out here. We never ended up going to that beautiful trip in Mauritius, but we got locked down here. Fortunately, we were all able to work remotely. And so we just worked remotely. And I guess it was probably after 3 or 4 months of being here in Zim and feeling confident enough to be able to live here myself. Coming from the luxury of having everything work in London, and I loved it. I had such a beautiful life there, my friends, great job. It was scary to come to a country where, there's fuel shortages, there's no electricity sometimes, water you have to buy, and that seems scary if you've not dealt with it. And I guess those first few months of living here and realizing it's actually not that much to manage, this is quite a nice place to have a change. Leave the fast pace of life of London and just slow it down and go back to nature. So we decided to stay. That was it. Yeah, my girlfriend went back a few months later, packed up our place in London, and we made it official.
How did you feel the change about being in this, you say, free queer space in London and coming here concerning, homosexuality and being a free spirit and just being who you are via living back in Zim?
Yeah, I guess that was one of the things I didn't think too much about initially when I was making that decision to move, because I had a partner, and that was all I needed in terms of queer space. I didn't think outside of that being, can I hold my girlfriend's hand, or can we kiss in public and that kind of thing. It wasn't really in the forefront of my mind. I guess when that relationship came to an end, it became more apparent that the community here is very small and not very seen. So you are faced with a very heterosexual viewpoint and opinions. So it's quite narrow-minded, and it's difficult, yeah. I'm not the kind of person who walks around with a rainbow flag telling everyone I'm gay. I think that's just my sexual preference. So I don't feel the need to be telling everyone. But at the same time, I don't want to have to hide it. And I feel that sometimes you withhold that information based on who you're talking to, because there's a feeling that you will be judged. And so you are watching what you say sometimes, or how you're being. And that's quite tricky.
And do you think it's because there's not so much exposure to people here to homosexuality or to other queer people? It's because it's not so obvious, that people have no contact, or they're just not aware, so they react maybe in a judgmental way?
Yeah, I think that there's an element of not seeing it, and therefore they're naive. I think it's still seen as something that is quite gross, and I don't know how you would change that. I think it's a mindset more so than exposure. Homosexuality is still illegal in this country, so it's not something people want to walk around showing. Perhaps there are these stereotypes that are placed on homosexuals, and those stereotypes are turned into belief systems here. So people, they think if you dress like a guy, then you're a dyke, or, if you're a bit feminine, then you're definitely a little queen, or where it's way more fluid than that.
And being illegal in a way, the way you are being.
I mean, if the country is saying that it's illegal, how do you expect people to look at you and accept you? Theft is illegal, rape is illegal. So we look at illegal things as bad things. And it's, you've got to change that whole narrative behind that.
Did you feel in your time here any kind of threat coming from the legal system in a way?
I don't think I've lived here in a very open way. I don't think I've displayed any sort of public displays of attention to anyone I've with in this country, out in the open, in closed environments where I know the people, yeah, but I'm not gone into the city and exposed myself to it. So I haven't personally had any negative experience.
Do you know people who have had negative experiences like that?
I don't, no. I don't have a huge friendship group here in the queer community. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I can't really answer that.
Are there any spaces, you said it's more private spaces, is it like this in general for the queer community, that they meet in private parties, private spaces?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's for a security measure. I've been to one or two over the years where the security is tight. They release the location last minute. At the end of the day, everyone's trying to be as free as they can. And if that freedom comes at a cost of punishment, security has to be tight. So yeah, most of the queer things are under wraps and in private spaces.
Mm. How would you wish for the country to change in that way?
I guess just removing this element of really doesn't matter who you sleep with. I mean, that is just such a tiny part of the makeup of who we are as people. Let that be a private matter for people to decide, And if we could get that basic logic into people's heads, I think there could be some change.
I agree. Do you feel you can really be yourself here? Do you think you can be your authentic self when you have these limiting factors?
I think, look, it's different when you're meeting people and I'm meeting someone and I feel the connection to want to be friends with that person. I'm going to be 100% honest and authentic. If I'm meeting someone in a more professional manner, in that sense, it's going to take me more time to open up and be authentic. And I guess that's a different mask that you just put on. But when it's someone that I'm going to be bringing into my life and there's going to be a connection, I can be 100% authentic. Obviously, I feel that there's always something in the back of my mind that is anyone watching me do this? Or, if I do that, like if I pick up someone from the airport and I give them a kiss as a welcome to Zimbabwe, are people looking at us? Are we being, talked about? Whereas in other places in the world, I don't feel like that. So yeah, I guess in the back of my mind, it's niggling there.
You are soon leaving them, actually. Do all these topics play a matter in that, or does it have different reasons?
I would definitely say there is an element of the fact that I would like to be living in a city where I am free to be who I am, and it not to be a spectacle where it's like, wow, look what they're doing. Or I'm looking forward to that freedom. I'm looking forward to also just being exposed to a lot more people, moving back to Cape Town. I guess it would be nice to go to a queer space every now and then and meet people who perhaps gone through the same thing or just of like mind. But I think that there is a lack of stimulation that I am not receiving here in Zimbabwe. And it's me looking for an in-between now from that amazing city, vibrant life of being free and accepted to a really balanced, calm life of nature-filled Zimbabwe, not being accepted, to find a more balance. And that's really what I'm trying to look for.
Are you going to come back?
Of course, I will come back, yeah. I mean, I love Zim. I think it's an amazing place and it's home in so many ways. I'll definitely be back, yeah.
Looking back, what personal strengths or lessons have you carried with you through all these changes?
Yeah, I definitely think that one of the biggest things that helped me and helps me still to this day is where there is a will, there is a way. And so if you put your mind to it, just focus on getting that goal achieved. You're going to be hit by so many things along the way. But if you've got it locked down in your mind that you want to achieve that, you can. So yeah, definitely resilience has come with a long way. And, I guess age has a role to play in it. You start to overthink more things the older you get. And I keep reminding myself to go back to when I was 25 and made that decision to leave Cape Town, my marriage, the religion. And that was just bold strength and eyes closed, jumping into the deep end. And that's just something I try and pull myself back into that mindset.
Yeah, and it also shows that a difficult situation is also passing and you can
come through it.
Come through it and get out the other end just stronger and more aware of who you are and just seeing the good side of the difficult times maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I always ask this question at the end about Zimlove, what the name of the podcast. If there's any story, anything that happened to you, anything you've heard that you feel this is Zimlove, or this is what this word can mean to me, what can that be for you?
I think just the general friendliness of this country and the people, where it's a small number of people living in quite a big country, and how when you walk down the street or wherever you are, through a park, we're all saying hello to each other. It's like we're noticing the person that's walking past us. And I think that's beautiful. That's something you don't really get exposed to when you're in a bigger city. In London, you don't see the same person twice. And not even the fact you don't see them twice, you're just not saying hello because you've got thousands and thousands of people coming past you. So I like that warmth, when you go into a shop and everyone's really warm and welcoming. I think that's very Zimbabwean. And I've actually experienced that even when I've been in Cape Town recently. Any restaurant I go to and I hear a Zimbabwean name and I tell them I'm from Harare, it's just, you get like covered in their love and warmth. They're just such a happy, warm group of people, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Roma.